What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Mike coming back at you. So I just started my YouTube channel, but I wanted to make sure that I talked about my journey, how I got to where I'm at right now, and so it's gonna be a couple of different episodes in between, and we'll go from there. This first one is about how did I get my CDLs. So got my CDLs last year in January of 2020. uh, I went and took my tests. I took the generals, the hazmat, doubles and triples, and also the air brakes and combinations all at the same time. I went down to my local Anoka County Sheriff's Department here in Minnesota. Went and took my test. Took a couple times to pass the generals. Didn't really want to study the first time. So went ahead, did everything like that. After the first three times, they charge you. They charge you $10. But the first three times are free. So you have three shots before you have to pay $10. Each location will be different. So do look into your area before you actually go about it this route. So I took my test, got my CLP, Commercial Learner's Permit. From there, I went on Indeed, specifically looking for jobs that would train people locally. Didn't want to be over the road. I have a family. Little fact here: I got 7 kids, a wife, house responsibilities. So I wanted to be local. Didn't want to be OTR. At max, I would be regional. So found a job. Actually, I found 5. They all hired me. One was Waste Management, which is a company here, Pepsi, Lyman Lumber, which is a local flatbed company, Asian Foods, which is a dry van company that does food here in the state of Minnesota. And there was one other, I forget. But all 5 hired me after talking to some people and, looking at the different times and wanted to really know about the industry. I decided to go flatbedding. So I chose Lyman. Chose that company just mainly because of, one, the schedule. Weekends were off, Monday through Friday. Also learning a skill that's different than just general dry van, which is flatbed. Also got my forklift certification. Learned a lot of useful skills from a lot of different people along the way as well. And they were also going to train me in a manual. So went from there from February 10th until May or June of last year. Learned how to drive. And the reason why it took so long is because of the pandemic. They were not having anybody testing when it was time for me to take my test in April. So I had to wait longer. And then from there, once I was able to actually take my test, I used their equipment. So I used their equipment, their trainers. Didn't sign a contract as far as a non-compete or locked into a year as well. That's something that Pepsi and Asian Foods wanted me to do. Comparative wise, as far as the numbers, they were all around that $25, $26, $24 range. Just depends on you and what you want to do. Also, flatbedding, even though it's hands-on, it was less work than the other two, as they would be in and out of stores all the time. So wind up getting my CDLs in June of 2020. And then from there, driving until now. So there's a lot of different routes you can go. That's what was the best for me, because they not only paid me to learn how to drive, they also taught me manual. They also already had a job there. And then I learned other skills like flatbedding, how to strap, how to, we didn't have to tarp lumber, how to do forklifts, how to use different forklifts, because there's Moffats, there's regular forklifts, how to load and unload a flatbed as well. So there's a lot there with that. And that's why I chose that. So anyway, as far as schools, the pros and cons for me, I chose to go the route I went because not only was I getting paid to go, I learned real life situations compared to school, which I heard from other people who were actually at the job who went to school. They paid $3,000 just to pass the test. And when they went to an actual job, they didn't know how to do a lot of backing. They didn't know how to maneuver the trailer or shift as good because you only did a 6-speed compared to a 10-speed is what I learned on. So you get more practical pro for on-the-job training. You get practical training. You also get more hands-on learning every day you're driving compared to a few hours. Every day you're backing compared to just a few hours per week. And then you also have a solidified job. Also with on-the-job training, you also start that 1-year mark a lot sooner than you would a job, or excuse me, a school, because you'll have to wait until you have your CDL just to say, oh, I have my CDL, now I'm looking for the driving experience. As I was, otherwise I was able to go back to February of 2020 and say I had driving experience since I first started compared to others that went to school. Just looking down at my notes, as far as anything else as relates to CDLs, the app I used, I'll put it up on the display here. It really actually was really good. I was able to test, continuously look at it, read my book. I read the book once. Everything else I just kind of memorized and kept going over and over and over and over again until I got it. Most of the questions, I'd say 90% of the questions were on this app. So, and I know each state is different, but my state, all those questions were there or something similar if you were able to read it. So I did that. Pre-trip, how I passed my pre-trip on my first time. I watched YouTube videos over and over and over again and repeated it every day. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no abrasions, cuts, or bubbles, dry rot, all of that language, because that's what they want to hear. That information was very critical to passing the pre-trip, especially when you're going in a pandemic as I did, because I had the mask on and they couldn't hear me at all, so I had to yell. It wasn't a situation where if you didn't know it, you couldn't fake it. You actually had to know the information. Another thing, you want to make sure, again, each state's different. Mine, I was able to get at the CDL testing day where I was doing my driving, my practical exam. I was able to get a checklist and a cheat sheet from the examiner that said, we're not going over these 2 sections. And backing up a little bit, the first section was the engine compartment. The second section was the in cab. The third was the trailer. The fourth was all around. No matter what, you're going to do in cab. So you need to know how to do your in cab, your brake test, windshield wipers, horn, all of that. The other 3 are completely up to the trainer of the day, or the examiner of the day, excuse me. The examiner of the day is going to select if you do engine, if you're going to do trailer, if you're going to do overall. So you need to make sure you know everything. Generally, the trailer is the easiest if you can get the engine compartments down, because you're going to use the same vernacular or the same wording for that trailer. And they're particularly looking for the tires, brakes, torque rods, things like that. So you want to make sure you're looking into that. But I generally go with, for sure, I keep saying, you want to make sure you find somewhere that doesn't have a non-compete, doesn't have a contract, so you can move around if you need to. And then from there, you can actually, you know, if you don't like the company, kind of move around. I stuck with mine. The company was great for me for a year. Taught me a lot of different things that I still use to this day. I still talk to a lot of people from that job. So that was wonderful for me. And not only did they pay me $24 an hour starting, or 23 just to learn. Then when I got my CDLs, I got bumped up to $24.50. And then as I progressively got more pay, up to $26.89 when I left. That's Monday through Friday, home nightly. You know, 10 to 12 hour days as any normal driver, and then weekends off, holidays off. Treating me very, very well. So beyond that, man, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I'll answer as best as I can. And we'll move on to the next video. All right, y'all. Peace.